Hi, welcome back to Hemp Fact Fridays. Today is Friday, July something, I don't know, maybe the 10th. It's the 10th. Like, no one knows what date it is anymore. All right. Today, we have a pretty interesting topic today. I think so. Today, we're going to talk about the antiviral, antifungal, antibacterial. What does all this mean? What does this stuff talk about? Properties of hemp, of course. So, it's a little scientific in nature. I'm gonna try to keep it as simple for both of us as possible, because I'm not a scientist. I do a little bit of extra homework this week, kind of try to learn about what I'm talking about here somewhat. But there's no question that why this is important this year. This year, 2020 will go down as the year of the virus, the year of the pandemic, regardless of name. With COVID-19, they should have called it COVID 2020. Because it is really, really jacking up the year across the world for a lot of people, a lot of businesses, a lot of governments, and a lot of everyday people like ourselves. And so 2020, all of us have kind of been looking for different ways to kind of keep ourselves safe from viruses, bacteria, fungi, microbials, things like that. So we thought that, definitely this would be a good topic to kind of bring up. And, of course, like a lot of the time, how we choose our topics most often is, one or two people come to us and ask us questions or send questions our way. Like, well, what's up with this antifungal, antiviral? Am I gonna, can I use this to prevent COVID-19? If people ask me if I smoke hemp or even something more powerful than hemp. Am I gonna, does that prevent me from getting, any sort of infection? As far as COVID-19, the short answer is no. Like you're not gonna hemp your way out of getting getting COVID-19. That's not happening. But there has been some validity to the theory that hemp oil could be an effective tool in the fight against the spreading of certain types of pathogens. So we're going to kind of dig into a little bit of that today. And I think, like I said, now it's pretty interesting. Hopefully you guys are relaxed today. I think the traffic was light out there today, so hopefully a lot of people are off and get some time to sit there and watch us. Nancy Hargrove, how are you? She's off. Thank you for joining us today. I haven't seen her in forever. She's a really good girl, and she does real estate up in Baltimore. If you guys looking for some real estate, call Nancy Hargrove. But let's talk about this pathogen thing. Say no way, all right? Say no way. It can just really help in the fight against these pathogens. So let's take a look. First, let's all get on the same page. We're gonna take a couple terms so that we know what we're talking about here, at least for the sake of this conversation, so we're all talking about the same thing. So we're gonna go over a couple terms and kind of differentiate what these terms mean. So I'm looking at antibacterial, antifungal, antimicrobial, and antiviral. So, all these terms have been used in the last couple months in relationship to hemp or hemp oil. What's up, George? Welcome back. Thank you for joining us again. And I'm going to put this in sort of like, most of these terms are going to be, I'm going to put them in kind of two sort of definitions. Their adjective form and their noun form. So antibacterial, and simply put, and Valerie, thank you, Valerie, for joining in today. Simply put, an antibacterial can kill or inhibit bacterial growth. That's an adjective form. Or it can be a type of antimicrobial that destroys or prohibits the multiplication of bacteria. So antibacterials basically can inhibit the spread of bacteria growth. Antifungal, used to prevent fungal growth, and also called anti-mycotic. Okay, anti-mycotic. Now, in this noun version, it's noun sense, it's a drug used to treat mycosis, anti-mycotic, mycosis is a fungus, like athlete's foot, ringworm, candidiasis, things like that. Now, an antimicrobial is kind of like, I guess those two were those previous words, antibacterial, antifungal, sort of falls under the category of antimicrobial. So, antimicrobial kills or slows the spread of viruses, various pathogens, various pathogens and microorganisms. Bacteria and fungus fall under the category of microorganisms. So, an antimicrobial, by definition, should cover a lot more things than the specifics of a bacteria or a fungus. Now, in its noun form, an agent that destroys or prohibits the multiplication of bacteria, fungi, parasites, and viruses. Okay, so that's just kind of like what I just said. So if there is a hierarchy, antimicrobial, antibacterial, antifungal. An antiviral is just a noun. Usually when we say an antiviral, we're talking about a drug. An actual drug or class of medicines designed to treat viral infections. Generally, they're virus specific and do not destroy like all types of pathogens. So when we're talking all those words, but we're not going to get too much of antiviral today. We're not talking about drugs. We're not talking about antivirals. But just know that when you hear that term, and especially in relation to this subject, an antiviral does not have any place in this conversation. So that's why I wanted to bring up those terms so we're all kind of on the same page as we move forward. So now that we have a cursory understanding of these terms, let's spit some facts. Let's, as I used to say, let's drop a little science, as I used to say, right? So the World Health Organization, I know we've all heard about the World Health Organization. If you hadn't heard about them before January, you've definitely heard about them since then. They come out every day. They come out around probably about this time of day, and they give their update on what's going on with the pandemic across the world. Sometimes it's advice, sometimes that is suggestions, what have you, but that's what they're there for. But the World Health Organization has called antibiotic resistance one of the greatest threats to mankind. This is not new information. This has kind of been around for a couple of years, and we hear things about, superbugs and things like that, and these pathogens that get treated with antibiotics and then kind of morph, and we'll talk about that in a second. So bacteria, one impacted or controlled by chemical antibiotics, have developed resistances to these chemicals. So the chemicals that are used to treat the bacteria are no longer as effective against the bacteria. The bacteria is just like we are. We evolved. What's the word? Yeah, evolution. Yeah, we evolve. You know what I mean? I guess in a sense, we mutate. All animals, all forms of life do, and bacteria do as well. And basically, they're like, I'm not really, having all this antibiotic stuff. We're going to figure this out, and we're going to overcome it, just like most, things in the animal world do. So they come back, they identify the chemicals, they evolve in ways to overcome them, and therefore it gets stronger and gets stronger and gets stronger. So once the genetic mutations of bacteria get stronger, then the substances used to control them, then we can clearly see how that can be problematic for mankind. So, to the point where the World Health Organization claims that antibiotic-resistant bacteria may take upwards of as many as 50 million lives by 2050. 50 million, that's worldwide, not in the United States or any specific nation, but 50 million people. That's a lot of people. I mean, at any number, at any reference point, at any angle that you look at that information, that is a heck ton of people. That is a ton of people. So what can we do about that? I mean, that sounds a little frightening. Like we're all just going to go down to something, and we watch these movies like Pandemic, and I don't know, I can't remember the one, Outbreak and Contagion and things like that, and it's like it just seems like this is just our destiny, But I don't know. I got doubts. Hey, baby girl, how are you? So in recent studies, may soon prove that hemp oil, and hemp seeds could be an effective partner in the fight against antibiotic resistance. So we're going to kind of go into some facts now. So we're going to start talking about a little bit of stuff. I'm just going to talk about a couple studies, things that have come out, and this, this is a relatively short talk today, so we're gonna kind of just touch on these points and really just want to hammer home just like how maybe we have been overlooking something that's been right on our nose for a long time that sort of helps us and fight some of these pathogens. Because I've kind of looked back a couple months. There was a time a few months ago, and even now, like there's certain things that you can't find, like hand sanitizer until some of these alcohol and spirit companies started helping out making hand sanitizers and stuff. Any bacterial wipes and things like that. So it's definitely on our consciousness. So let's talk about a study of CBD topicals done by Mark Dr. Mark Blaskovich of Australia's, this is a mouthful, University of Queensland, Institute of Molecular Biosciences Center for Superbug Solutions, found through experimentation that the compound CBD had an amazing ability to kill a wide range of pathogens. His studies also found that it did not lose its effectiveness with extended use. And that's really kind of a very important point, because part of what happens, with these antibiotics, especially to say, I'll give you an example with, say, produce, all right? And we're going to talk about how, in a few minutes, is how we're talking about antibiotics that are, these bacteria that are growing resistant to antibiotics, not just in humans, but also in the food that we eat. And we'll kind of talk about, we see all these things in the last few years, whereas lettuce gets recalled for E. coli or some other sort of strange thing. That's exactly what is happening. I lost my train of thought for a hot second there, but I'm back. All right. So what ends up happening? So that I'm going to use this food thing as an example. You start spraying these antibiotics on, let's say you have a farm. This whole table here is a farm. I'm farming stuff here. I'm raising all kind of stuff, and I'm throwing antibiotics all over it. And sooner or later, and the reason I'm using antibiotics backup is to make sure that my plants don't start developing any sort of like illness or microbes or some sort of other parasite, pathogen, or what have you that gets on these plants. But sooner or later, these same bacteria, they start morphing, and there's nothing I can do to save my plants. We're going to get sick. Then the bacteria come back, they get stronger, they get more effective. We sort of touched on that a few minutes ago. So, what ends up happening is the thought or the concern was, if we kept using this hemp, would the same things happen that's happened to the antibiotics? That's, in short, that's what I've been trying to say. So this proves that no, through extended use, like antibiotics, their effectiveness wears thin. But what we're finding, or what Dr. Blaskovich found, is that through extended use of hemp, CBD, or that compound, it did not wear thin. It was just as effective in, say, week 1 as it was in week 10. So, hi, Kathleen. Thank you very much. Additionally, their studies found that CBD oil was just as potent as some commonly used antibiotic medications. And also disrupted biofilm. Biofilm is a form of bacteria that grows, a bacteria growth that leads to hard to treat infections. So all these things are sort of happening sort of within us, all right? Some other things that the Blaskovich study found is that the CBD compound was very effective at killing a wide range of gram-plus infections. So microbial strains are generally categorized in either gram-plus or gram-minus bacteria. Gram-plus are easier to kill. Gram-minus are naturally resistant to antibiotics. So, or gram-positive, gram-plus, gram-minus. It's really gram-positive, gram-negative. It's just me just kind of like using my little slang here. Like I'm in my mind right now. I'm still reading my notes and not saying it here on this camera. So excuse me. The correct terminology is gram-positive and gram-negative, not gram-plus and gram-minus. So gram-positive, why are they called gram-positive and gram-negative? Gram-positive bacteria are called that. Well, the difference is they retain a crystal violet or purple red-like color to their strains. Like if you're looking at it microscopically, and gram-negatives lose that color, and they're more like clear and translucent. Now, what can be considered like gram-positive bacteria? Certain types of staph, strep, listeria. Some gram-negatives are E. coli, meningitis, some forms of salmonella. Now, I say this doesn't mean that all gram-negatives are going to kill us and all gram-positives are not, are easy to maintain. But what I am saying is, either you can have helpful bacteria in both. I think that we've been programmed in the United States to believe that all bacteria is bad for us. But I think we know now, especially like as we talk about probiotics and things like that in the last 10 to 15 years, that there are things that considered bacteria that are actually beneficial to the body. Different things that make vinegars and kombuchas and things, those like forms of bacteria. So And they are beneficial, and we do use them, and they are helpful for us, not just inside, but help us make other food products and denature our foods and things like that. But some of these, either gram-negative or gram-positive bacteria, can be helpful or hurtful. So it's not just like a one or the other thing. But generally, the more helpful bacteria strains, probiotics and such, fall under the gram-positive category. So I told you it's going to get a little bit scientific today, so just please stay with me. You know, we're, and I don't think we're going too far ahead of anybody. We're going too far ahead? Either it's getting too out of control? Okay. All right. Another study by Brandon Novy, he's a microbiology professor at Portland's Reed College, found that the CBD compound had potential to fight gram-negative infections. All right. So that's great. I mean, amazing, really. Amazing that we kind of sometimes, I know what we do, we kind of go through things that work and we really believe in science, but this is science. Like, this falls in that category. And I think that all these things that have been happening, all these studies that have been doing really need to be addressed, especially now. If nothing else, 2020 has shown us that this is really something that we probably should be focused on, at least as an option, and look at as many options as we can to keep us safe. 2009 study showed that freshly extracted oils of industrial hemp can significantly inhibit microbial growth. The study used 3 different varieties of hemp, one called Carmagnola, one called Fibronova, and one called Futura. The study showed that the Futura strain may be useful in controlling food spoilage and foodborne pathogens. Interesting. So we're going to talk about that again, and then we're going to go in a little more depth into that. So globally, bacteria in food and food production are growing resistant to antibiotics. All right, we sort of touched on that a second ago. And that giving rise to theories that hemp oil and hemp seeds could be an effective deterrent. And also, which is the way that the world is going, the way consumers are going. People want to have a better idea of what they're putting in their bodies. I think it's not. We're pushing, me and this group here, we're pushing 50. So, we were raised on the artificial this, artificial that, canned stuff, does it come in a box? Does it have someone's name on it? Did my grandmother make it? I don't want to eat it, so as you can see, we start developing our own little set of unique issues in this generation of people, ourselves, our, boomers, Gen Xers, and definitely, as you see how that's having an effect on some young people also. So that has given a rise to the organic food movement. Now, that puts pressure on farmers because organic food costs more. And, farming already has thin margins as it is, so they're looking for more effective and less expensive options to help control, microbes and things like that. So, apparently, gastrointestinal infection is one of the leading causes of death in piglets. All right, who would have known this? I mean, maybe if you're a farmer, you're a pig farmer, you know this, but the whole beware of the pig farmer thing. No one wants to talk to pig farmers anymore. Stay away from those guys. You know what I'm saying? But a group in Denmark found that the addition of hemp oil to piglet feed reduced gastrointestinal infections dramatically. I don't have an exact percentage on what that was, but how much the reduction was. Hey, and thank you for the referral, Tony White. If you're looking for Zumba in Howard County, this girl right here is the one to see. Shameless plug, I got to support the people who support me, so thank you very much. So, the resulting data spawned other academians to explore the impact of adding cold-pressed hemp oil, hemp meal, and hemp proteins to the diets of livestock, and hopefully we will see some more results on that soon. That's pretty encouraging. The world does like pork, and pork started at piglets, so I don't think anyone's going to stop eating pig anytime soon, and I think if we did, think things are riotous now. Take bacon and ribs off the shelf. It's here in the summertime. Things are going to start getting a little out of control, But other research is being done on if hemp oil can be used as opposed to chemical antibiotics on produce to help the spread of pathogens from plant to plant, but also from plant to soil. And plant to soil is a cyclical process. So if I plant, say, lettuce here, and I'm this is infected, and then my soil gets infected. So when I'm done with this crop, the next thing I want to plant here, it's going to get infected. I mean, it's like it's a cyclical process, you know. So European research team discovered that hemp oil was more effective than streptomycin and penicillin in terms of natural antibiotics and antibacterial traits without the danger of antibiotic resistance. That's encouraging. I mean, people are actually talking about using this in the food production chain to help limit some of these strange and unusual, because I don't remember hearing when I was a kid, like, you know, or in the 70s, 80s, of like these people getting sick off of lettuce. Like, lettuce should be one of the safest things you can eat, you know, but like, I understand proteins, but to understand getting, I don't know, it's just a little, so some of that has to do, I know not all that has to do with just, you know, chemical uses. Some of that is just runoff from farms and things like that. But I'm going to read you a little passage, and this is from one of our sources, the Hemp Connoisseur magazine. This is actually a very good source. The destruction of superbugs. Methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, or MRSA, is a strain of bacteria that has become non-responsive to most antibiotics, often carried on the skin and then the nose. Staphylococcus aureus, we'll call it MRSA for now, is profoundly problematic when it has an opportunity to invade the bloodstream to cause staph infections. When antibiotic-resistant strains of staph infect someone with a weakened immune system, such as, hey mom, love you, such as the ill or the elderly, the infection can quickly become life-threatening. As resistance to antibiotics increases, some strains of bacteria are becoming immune to vancomycin, the last resort antibiotic that is currently used when all others fail. Recently, Simon Gibbons of the School of Pharmacy on the University of London and Giovanni Appendino of the Piedmonte Orientale University in Italy tested 5 different cannabinoids with regard to their ability to kill MRSA. All right? The results were impressive. Of the 5 cannabinoids tested, the 2 with the highest effectiveness in killing the resistant bacteria were extracted from industrial hemp. I'm going to read that again, okay? The results, of the 5 cannabinoids tested, the 2 with the highest effectiveness in killing the resistant bacteria were extracted from industrial hemp, that with low THC and non-psychoactive properties, okay? So this is amazing. I mean, and I think it definitely needs a little bit more attention. You know, and the funny thing is that we were discovering things left and right here on Hemp Fact Fridays. I hope you guys have been sitting around and watching us for the last couple months, you know, because we have really dropped up some serious knowledge on you guys. And and it's not patting us on the back, but what the crazy part is, we've been learning as you've been learning, you know. And it's not that we came into us a little bit of expertise, but as we've been digging in, and we're finding some pretty amazing things, and all this leads to the conclusion of why are we not using this more and more? Why are we not using this plant that we can grow at so cheap in more of our daily lives? It just seems, I don't know, it seems astounding that we have chosen other options when we have this here. So I'm going to get off my soapbox for a minute and get back to some hemp facts. So, during their study, Gibbons and Appendino discovered that hemp extracts were effective in treating infection as many known antibiotics, including the vancomycin. More recent studies have shown that hemp extracts are effective in treating different bacteria, especially Mycobacterium tuberculosis, the bacterium that are responsible for tuberculosis. And I know some of these have, we talked about gram-positive and gram-negative, and E. coli, bacteria, subtilis. Like, some of these things are actually being controlled and mitigated, and not killed, but at least controlled to some degree with the use of hemp oil. You know, so I think we're going to see some products in the next. Oh, shoot, man. You watch this, I'm sure if you're an entrepreneur and you're watching this, your mind is racing right now. You probably figure out how to get this stuff in your product. You can start selling this to the general public, and I don't think that's a bad idea at all. So we'll talk about some of the different parts of the plant that are actually beneficial and like where you're getting some of the benefits from. Hemp has been shown to possess antibacterial properties in a range of pathogenic bacteria. We just mentioned some of those. These properties are contributed from cannabinoids, alkaloids, and other bioactive compounds in the hemp plant. Hemp hurd, the woody, we talked about this before when we were talking about decortification, but the woody core of the hemp stalk, in a series of tests has been found that the hurd has the strongest antibacterial properties against E. coli, bacteria found to infect the lower intestines, and the ability to restrain the growth of microorganisms such as, well, there's a couple others, but we'll get into that. They're too scientific and no one even knows what they are anyway. So additionally, the hemp stalk has also been found to have antibacterial properties against Bacterium subtilis, commonly found that also infects the gastrointestinal tract. And furthermore, the leaves, stems of the plant have been found to have excellent antimicrobial, properties. So this is really good stuff. And I know leaves and stems are sometimes used to make like hemp teas and things like that. A year ago, had you told me about hemp tea, I'd be like, well, I think it's kind of a gimmick, but clearly, these people who were telling me this hemp tea has been helping them have not been blowing smoke. They're actually telling me some good stuff. So, and just to kind of touch on my own story a little bit, about the last couple of years, my gastrointestinal health has not been the best. I used to have a rock stomach. I was a chef for a number of years. I could eat anything I wanted, whenever I wanted, no matter what time of day, and that would be just fine. There was a point in 7th grade, I just take bets, it's just like people just pour stuff in a cup and they just dump it in my stomach, which is stupid. Maybe it's probably why I'm having the gastrointestinal problems I'm having today. You never know. But the thing is, one of the few things that I've done, other than change my diet, of course, and be more conscious about what I'm putting in my stomach, is I've added hemp oil. And I wasn't making any real connection. But as I've been studying this, maybe there is a connection. Maybe there is a connection to the bad bacteria that was going on in my gut, and the positive effects of this antimicrobial properties of hemp, and hemp oil. I take it every day. Just drop it down sublingually or in some sort of topical application. Every now and then I'll take some orally, but most of the time it's just that. Just take a couple drops of the whole hemp, and it just goes down. And next thing you know, I don't know. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling less pain, but I have noticed there has been a difference. I wasn't able to function in the morning. I'm getting up, and I'd have to stay, close to the bed or the bathroom for like an hour, 2 hours. And now I hopped out of bed this morning and I came right here. So I don't know. I know that doesn't mean a lot to most of you, but those of you who know me, you understand what I'm going through. And I've done very little to change my life. And hemp oil has been one of those things, and I have to believe, after reading this, that it's been effective. So we're going to drop a couple fun facts, and we're going to close out today. Fun fact: one study of cannabinoids and oral hygiene found that cannabinoids have the potential to be an effective antibacterial agent against dental plaque-generated bacteria, and much safer than the chemical or synthetic antibiotics. So, I'll say that again. Cannabinoids have potential to be an effective antibacterial agent against dental plaque-generated bacteria, and shown to be much safer than chemical or synthetic antibiotics. Okay? And we talked about hemp seeds early on, but I didn't really tell you, there wasn't much to tell, so I couldn't do a lot about hemp seeds, so we saved it till the end. But hemp seeds have the highest content of edestin, a type of globulin. What is he talking about? I'll tell you. So globulin are a type of proteins naturally occurring in the human body and are responsible for acquired and natural immunity against outside organisms. Interesting, huh? Even more interesting that globulins, just in short, globulins make antibodies, basically. So we got these things inside of us that make antibodies, and just like, you have endocannabinoid system and phytocannabinoids that you use to feed your cannabinoid system, this is kind of how this is working, because 65% of hemp seed protein is the globulin edestin. So in hemp seeds, you can get, in Amazon, you can start sprinkling these things on your salad, add them to your shakes. You're definitely getting some antibiotic resistance very cheaply, and with no side effect whatsoever. So just a little fun facts right there. Let's talk about our sources today. We had quite a few sources this week. Your boy had to do some studying for this one. So the Natural Center for Biotechnological Information, 420intel.com, Hemp Alta, globalnewswire.com, hcmagazine.com, the Hemp Connoisseur, which they're really good. You should really check those guys out. cbdclinicals.com, the London Economic, New Frontier Data, the Science Daily, study.com, and as always, good old Wikipedia, source, the bedrock of reliable information. So, props today. I've been thinking all week who we're going to give props to today. And I kind of like, we've gone to farmers, we've given props to people who have been delivering food, people who have been making food, delivery people in general, but we want to give props to the science community overall today. I think 2020 is also showing us the importance of the commitment to science and scientific advancement, how that keeps us as a nation competitive with others, but also it keeps us in touch with finding information like this. To me, the things that I shared today, every person should know. Every person should be empowered to go out to the store and intelligently buy themselves something that they think that can help them. Not necessarily something that your doctor or your pharmaceutical company says, hey, you should take this or else. No, I think that people have been living for millennia before pharmaceutical. I'm not knocking pharmaceutical companies whatsoever. I'm just saying that if you're a person who doesn't believe that, and you don't believe that you're not, lockstep with them, and you think that there are other options, know that there are. And hemp oil, hemp seeds are a great option, apparently, for boosting your immune system and helping, with antimicrobial growth. Helping this, not antimicrobial growth, but the mitigating the spread of microbes. Okay, so you can start with something like this. This is our lotion. This is basically what we call a true transdermal absorption to the skin. But if you're looking for an extra layer of protection, and this has full spectrum hemp oil on there, then why not? If you're already putting something, like say hand sanitizer, why not reinforce that with say like a hemp topical, like a lotion or balm or something like that? We want to give props also to hemp sanitizer, and this is really good stuff. So Uncle Bud's, I know my wife showed up with this stuff, and I was like, I don't know, but what this does a couple things. So you can have the antimicrobial properties of hemp. You also have the moisturizing properties. In my hands, never felt better. But also, this is a very, very smart product. So it moisturizes, it protects, and of course with the hemp oil in there, it gives you an extra layer of protection. So Uncle Bud's, you guys are doing a great job. So let's close. All right. I hope you had some valuable content today. We really try to put out. That's really our goal. Not the goal of these Hemp Fact Fridays is not to sell our products. We are a brand, yes. Do we want to sell our products? Of course, just like any other brand does. But our goal is to educate people. We want to kind of give you the real. I think there's a lot of misinformation out there, and we go out and we try our best to find the real stuff, the meat, that people can use, and people really the things that people I think want to hear, the questions that you want to have answered. So hopefully we're doing that in 2 weeks from now. Not next week, but 2 weeks from now, we're doing 21 questions. So we're going to start promoting that, probably starting tomorrow. But we're not going to have that's going to be our last Hemp Fact Friday. So you got questions, start build them up. Write your questions down. Send them in. We'll address them. Or if you want to do it right then and there, but send them send us your questions. You can send it to info@cherryblossommcbd.com. You can send them right to this Facebook page. But as always, thank you for watching us today. And comment, please. If you have comments, you can comment right here. But thank you for watching. Please like us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at cherryblossomcbd.com. Excuse me. Instagram is at cherryblossomcbd.com, and Twitter is at cherry_CBD. Subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. All these videos eventually go there. So if you miss it here, you can definitely catch it on our YouTube channel. And please share our videos with your friends, your family, your coworkers, anyone you think that may benefit from this information. Someone who may have a CBD business, if you're interested in talking to us or interviewing us, whatever, doing business with us, please give us a call, shoot out to any of these mediums. But next week we're going to be back. It's going to be one of our last subjects, and that is before our next series. And next week is going to be almost like a who's who of hemp here on the East Coast. I mean, there's a lot of guys on the West Coast and the Midwest are getting a lot of shine. Guys and girls, excuse me, but we want to give these guys and girls on the East Coast a little shine. So we're going to dig in and figure out who's doing what here on the East Coast as far as the hemp industry. Not just things that are to be ingested, but different industries that are using hemp for different reasons. So join us next week. Thank you very much for hanging out with us today, spending your lunch time with us. And we'll see you soon. All right, have a great weekend.